Jonathan Lemire, let's talk about polls really quickly. CNN poll came out yesterday, showed Donald Trump's approval rating at 42%, showed the big, bad, beautiful bill, or whatever they're calling it, way upside down. I mean, 65% or so people are against it. Showed how much? 61% against the big, beautiful bill. There we go. 39% approve. Upside down there, there's another one about Democrats who are less popular than ever, lowest approval ratings ever. But the one that has to be standing out to the White House and also to other Republicans, they're looking and seeing how Donald Trump is doing with his base, because we keep hearing that his base is moving away from him with all of these podcasters and online influencers, was Donald Trump's approval rating with Republicans. It is sitting around 88%. In the Quinnipiac poll, it's up to 90%. His numbers actually have gone up since the Epstein story hit the front pages again. So anybody hoping that the Republicans were going to drift away, independents are drifting away, but the Republican base staying right there with him.
Yeah, to this point, that is absolutely true. First, a quick beat on the Democrats. Only 28% approve in that poll of the Democrats, showing the work they still have to do. They're still picking up the pieces from November's election loss. There's still sort of a lot of self-reflection, self-doubt. Frankly, some of it's turned into a circular firing squad. Democrats still turning on themselves in the post-Biden era, trying to chart a new course. They've had some success standing up to the Trump agenda. Far less success sort of identifying what they stand for and what their positive vision for the future might be. But back to the Republicans, that poll captured a few days ago, so it wouldn't have picked up the couple of recent developments in the Epstein story, including significant ones from yesterday, which we will get to in a moment, that may change things somewhat. But your larger point is right. Though there's some loud voices on the right now objecting to some of the things that President Trump has done, namely handling of that matter, the vast majority of Republicans still stand with him, and that's been the case now for a decade. He has an iron grip on the GOP base. There's been very little rebellions against him along the way. He recovered certainly from January 6th and elected again and now enjoys their support. But they have a lot of work to do. I wrote last week, the White House understands that they got their bill turned into law, but it's not very popular, and they're going to have to try to sell it. But that's going to be challenging when we know people like Republican Josh Hawley, that senator from Missouri, already saying he's going to try to amend and change what he voted for just a few days prior, Joe. So there's a recognition here. There are a lot of things in this bill that Americans simply don't like, and they're going to hold Republicans accountable now, potentially in the midterms.
Well, and that's catty when you look at the independent number, which is very low here, low 30s. People may look at that and say, oh, it's all about Epstein. I suspect that right now the 32% may have just as much or probably even more to do with the legislation that just passed, which is unpopular on so many fronts.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're in the middle of the Epstein story. It's hard to know whether this has legs for another week, another 2 weeks, another month or another day, right? This is the way this media environment works. It depends how many more stories comes out. Most of the kind of Democratic and Republican strategists that I've spoken to don't see the Epstein story having such a big impact in the 2026 midterms as the big, beautiful bill, because people are going to feel that in real term, unless it's amended, unless Josh Hawley manages to get those kinds of amendments, and Republicans may feel they just have to, if people are really starting to feel or see enough stories about how it's going to impact their health care and their own financial situation. I still feel this has more impact on the country and potentially, of course, on debt, interest rates, inflation, a whole host of other things in the medium term than the Epstein story does.
Yeah, and of course, David Drucker, this poll was conducted from the 10th to the 13th. So before, as John Lemire said, a lot of the more recent revelations took place. But you look, again, I want to show you these two numbers. You look at the independent numbers, they are low. But you look at the Republican numbers, and this is fascinating, 88%, an approval rating sitting at 88% at the same time that MAGA influencers all over podcasting world and on TV are warning the president that he has to come clean with the MAGA base. He's got to put everything out there regarding the Epstein files. This poll at least suggests, and again, it was taken from the 10th to the 13th, but at least at that point, this poll saying that's not the case, that the base is still sticking there. What can you tell us?
Well, Joe, I think we should put a sort of lifetime moratorium on speculation that this or that is going to tear the MAGA base away from Trump.
Of course,
I mean, we've been doing this for a decade. I don't mean you or I, but I mean just collectively here. We've been doing this for a decade now.
But
this
David,
finally
the only difference here is that it's the MAGA influencers, the most powerful MAGA influencers, that are doing it instead of the mainstream media.
Yeah, that is correct. It's just my read, Joe, that the MAGA influencers really they exist because of Trump. They're popular because of Trump. And so you have a MAGA base, a Republican MAGA base that is loyal to Trump, and then they search out media figures and influencers who give them the content that they want. And so, as opposed to these influencers creating the base that then Trump scoops up, it's not that they haven't been helpful in at least the 2024 election with some of these irregular voters and giving them access to content and more reasons to consider and then vote for Trump. But the way this generally works is that these people have become popular because of something that Trump created. Now, where Trump has always run into trouble is with center-right Republicans who are not Make America Great Again type of voters, who are more of your standard Reaganite. And, part of Trump's magic is he's always been just normal enough for the normies and just sort of crazy enough, if you will, for the irregular MAGA voters. But they have always looked to Trump as a North Star, not Joe Rogan, and not Steve Bannon, but they've been able to use that energy and that movement to then build their own sort of media profiles and empires. And while they can and will exist without Trump because they serve a certain segment of the American electorate, they are not actually in control of how these voters feel about Trump and ultimately how they vote. Although what you can look for with irregular Republican voters is, do they feel that Trump and a Republican Congress have done enough heading into midterm elections where they don't normally vote to get them out to the polls, considering that Trump himself will not be on the ballot?
Right.